Hi, my name is Sharon, and I'm going to tell you why I was detained at the Manchester airport for 6 hours. Yes, 6 hours. So, this is the year 2020, in January, just before the pandemic. I was a student. I had been in France for some time as a student. I had never traveled outside of Europe. I had never traveled at all. So I decided that I was going to go to England. I'd spoken to some friends, some relatives, so I said, why not? So I applied for my visa, and while I was waiting for the visa, I saw online that this airline company, Ryanair, had sales to Manchester Airport for 10 euros. Then I said, let me get this ticket, this round trip. And even if I don't get the visa, that's okay, because that's just 20 euros. As a Nigerian person, nothing spoiled. So I got the visa, I got the ticket, round trip for 20 euros. So I got it, and thankfully when my visa arrived, I had it. So I said, okay. And my visa was for Christmas. I said I was going to spend Christmas, but my ticket was in January. So, but I didn't think that it could be an issue. So I set off. I had already discussed with a cousin of mine who lived in Manchester at that time, who had completed his graduate studies, his master's, and was living there. So we had discussed it. He knew the time I was arriving. So I got my ticket, flew, and arrived. And when I got to the immigration area, I was asked questions. This immigration officer was very friendly with me. It was like a vibe. He was just vibing with me. Hey, what's up with you? How are you doing? How was your flight? Where are you going? And then he asked me, I think he asked me, do you have your return ticket? And I said yes. And he asked me, have you ever been to England? And I said no, because I hadn't ever been to England. And he said, so whom are you visiting? And I said, I'm visiting my friend. And he was like, your friend, your boyfriend. I didn't give an answer, I just smiled. And he said, give us his number. Now, mind you, my cousin had completed his master's. He hadn't had a job. He was having immigration issues a bit, because at that time there was no postgraduate visa. So as soon as you complete your studies, it's either you come back home or you get a job that's gonna sponsor you. He didn't get a job, and he didn't want to go either, so he was just hoping and praying that he'll get something, but his visa had run out. So I knew that it would be a bad idea to mention his name, because at that time the immigration had written to him that he has completed his studies, or all those kind of immigration issues. So the moment they asked for his number, I knew that giving his number was a bad idea. So that time I gave another friend who was in Sheffield that time. He who was still in school. His visa was accurate, and he only had the knowledge that I am going to be in England. We hadn't planned that I'm going to stay with him or anything, or he was even going to pick me up. He just had knowledge, because I informed people in England, some of my friends and family, that hey, I'm coming to England, you could meet or not. They just had the foreknowledge that I was coming. So I gave his number. They called him. They asked him, are you expecting somebody? He said, yes, I know this person is coming to England. They asked the relationship, and he said cousin. Remember, I had said friend earlier. So there, I think that started the whole thing, because they felt there was an indiscrepancy between the fact that I said he's my friend and he said cousin. So right there, my passport was seized. I was given a sheet of paper. I've forgotten what was written on it. It's been almost 5 years. It's been more than 5 years. This was January 2020, so it's been more than 5 years. So I don't remember what it was. Then my passport was seized. They took my passport away, and I was detained. So they'll come back and ask me 1 or 2 questions. Now before then, I think after my passport was detained, I was taken down there, and they searched through my bag, and they asked me tons and tons of questions. Why am I coming to England for 2 weeks with a backpack? How much do I have in my bank account? Where do I work? Where do I study? What has been my history ever since I left my country? A whole lot of questions. Well, I answered them. And then I was brought back to sit the area that I was detained. Mind you, my cousin, my friend, I mean, he is a long-time family friend. We were both staying in a big house in Kumasi at the time. So I'm comfortable calling him my cousin, okay? So he was standing at the arrival waiting for me because he knew the time I was arriving. He had waited 30 minutes, an hour. I wasn't coming. It was quite strange. So he proceeded to ask what was happening, that he was expecting somebody from France. Then they started questioning him. So it was question after question after question after question. Then he realized the questions that were coming to him was now the focus was shifting from me to his immigration status in the UK. And so when he realized that the questions were getting too many, remember he had had an issue with them earlier. I mean, they had issued a letter to him and all of that. He decided to run. So he ran. So he ran from the airport. He just ran. And I remember while I was seated up there, I was asked, "Do you know Charles?" And I said, "Yeah." I didn't tell them that he was coming to pick me. Because remember, I knew that it was a bad idea because he had told me about his immigration struggles. So I was asked who else knows that I'm coming to England. I told them the people that I knew. I was named after my auntie, so I told them that, oh, I'm visiting England for the first time. I'm going to explore. I'll be going to the Etihad Stadium. I'll be going to the Old Trafford. I'll be going to other stadiums in London or elsewhere. I'm just here to have fun. So they took my auntie's number and she tells me that they called her many times to the extent that she got fed up. So she just told them that, look, if you think that you cannot let her in, you can let her go, because I'm tired of these questions. So they came to finally take me to a room where I was seated face to face with, I think, 3 or 2 officers. I was here and they were at the other side with their notepad and they were writing everything. So they asked me right from the very first time I stepped foot in Europe to the time I was being questioned. My journey, the school, work, how much I had in my account, like I said earlier. Anything that I said, they'll ask you a question and then they'll write. So finally they finished and they took me back to the detention area there. And while there were a number of people who would come and wait there. So I think that the moment they realized there's an inconsistency with the answers you are giving, they detain you. So a number of people came and they all left before me. Everybody that came would leave after 30 minutes or an hour. But I was there for 6 hours. They detained me at 3 p.m. So I was there. And finally, after the questioning, when I left the room and I came back, they let me go after 6 hours. So at the time that they were letting me go, it was 9 p.m. and I was let go. They didn't say anything. They just said they were sorry or something like that. They took the paper that they gave me and gave me back my passport. So that is how I got detained at the airport of Manchester for 6 hours. And I tell you what, I was so traumatized that the plans that I had, I think for the first 3 days that I got there, I was indoors because I was truly traumatized. I didn't go out, I couldn't even eat. I didn't know, because I had never encountered this. When I was coming to France, there was no question whatsoever. They only check the authenticity of your passport or your visa, no question. But here I was, so many questions, detention and all of that. I was really traumatized. So this is for first timers, anybody that's flying to England or to the UK for the first time. Make sure that you are consistent with your story. Make sure you are consistent and bear in mind that you are going to answer the questions when you arrive. At the immigration, before they stamp your passport and let you in the country, they are going to ask you a number of questions. So you make sure that you are consistent in the answers you give. Now, I have heard stories of people who were returned to their home country or wherever they were coming from because of the inconsistencies in their stories. Some were coming to their spouses, but they were returned because some of them don't know the addresses or the postcodes, some don't know the names and everything. It's so if you are not very careful and you don't know exactly, like, you should be prepared to answer some questions. So you should know. I mean, if you are coming to whoever it is you are coming to, you should know their postcode. You should know their name. You should have a purpose why you are coming to the country. If it's for, whether it's for studies, whether you are joining your spouse, or whether it's just for holidays, you should know exactly what to say. Because I tell you what, regardless of how many stamps you have in your passport, every single time you have to answer questions at the immigration. I have had so many stamps, like 4 or 5 stamps. I go to England because from my city to England it's just an hour and 15 minutes. So I go there a lot, and every single time at the immigration I am asked. I have never ever been detained since then. However, I am still interrogated and asked why I am coming there. Sometimes I think that because of the many stamps that I have, they'll know that yeah, I come and go because I mean I live here. I am quite stable here. So but it doesn't matter to them. You'd have to answer your questions and be consistent and convince them before you are allowed into the UK. So this is my story time about how and why I was detained at the Manchester airport. I think it's the same for all the airports in England or in the UK. So if you're coming to the, I don't know for other airports or other countries, because I live in Europe, going to other Schengen countries do not require, I do not go through immigration. I just go without immigration checks, without checking my visa or my card, my residence permit or anything. I just go through immigration anytime. And then there's a smooth passage. You don't even meet immigration people. Yes, but for England or for the UK, be prepared to answer some questions. So that is it. This is the end of my story time. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and share my channel. And if you have any questions regarding past visa application to the UK, to America, to Canada, make sure you drop it in the comment section. I'll be making more videos about how to apply for your US or your Canada visa or any other visa to the UK, even to Schengen. Okay, so make sure you are logged in here, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you. Be safe and catch you. Bye.